Hi, this is Charles Hoskinson broadcasting live from warm, sunny Colorado. Always warm, always sunny, sometimes Colorado. Today is November 15th, 2024, and I'm back from California. Just went there recently to go visit the SpaceX guys and had a chance to tour their entire facility. They build a rocket every 2 days. These guys are on fire. I have never seen a company that well run and people that smart and motivated for their job. So kudos to Elon Musk and all the amazing people, Glenn Shotwell and others at SpaceX. It is one of the greatest achievements of the 21st century to build a company like that. And it's also just great to interact with people who really enjoy their jobs. Every single person I interacted with there, just passionate, fired up, said, we're going to Mars, mission to Mars. We're making this happen. In fact, while we were flying there, I looked out the window of my jet and I saw a Falcon 9 rocket in the air. I'm just like, these guys are everywhere, man. These guys are everywhere. It's probably going to be the largest ISP in the world in 5 or 10 years. And kudos to them. The technology they're bringing to bear is pretty remarkable. Anyway, we were discussing some things, still under NDA, can't talk about it. But when I can, I will. So today's video is about healthcare in Wyoming, and in particular, my clinic in Gillette, Wyoming. So I know that many of you know I have a clinic, and we've certainly talked about it from time to time, either in Twitter Spaces or occasionally in AMAs, but I've never really made a dedicated video to talk about some of the things we're doing, challenges we've overcome, the environment that's there, our effect on public health, as well as what we're trying to accomplish. And so I figured I'd take some time to roll things out and elaborate a bit about what the goals are of Hoskinson Health and Wellness and why I set it up. So as many of you know, I come from a long line of physicians, and I almost became one myself. I thought about it and I said, kind of like the math stuff and the entrepreneur stuff a little bit more than medicine. And one of the reasons I chose not to become a doctor is because of the bureaucracy and the hyper focus in the medical industry on process and treatments instead of cures and innovation. It is not an industry that is dynamic, agile, and free-flowing. You walk into SpaceX, and every 6 weeks they say, how do we do better? How do we make the next one better? There's this culture of innovation and improvement. You walk into medicine, and it's how do we manage the decline of people and systems? And a lot of cynicism, a lot of complaints, a ton of middle management. And unfortunately, the vast majority of people who are in positions of prominence in medicine, especially providers, whether they be nurse practitioners or physician's assistants or physicians themselves, they spend an enormous amount of time unpaid doing nothing but paperwork and dealing with the bureaucracy of the medical system. And in many cases, you're not compensated to actually do the things required to take care of people. So for example, you see a patient and maybe you have a 15 or 20-minute encounter with them, but it doesn't stop from when you see the patient to the end of seeing the patient. There's also this consideration of the care plan and the people you need to contact and the people you need to bring together. Traditionally, you're paid just for that time you see them, even though you may be emailing people or thinking about things or going through medical records. And all of that additional work is uncompensated. And as patients get older and more complex because public health has deteriorated so significantly, in many cases, that can be hours of work. And then you start having to make hard decisions. Do I go home and see my family, the wife and kids, the husband, et cetera, or do I stay at work and put some more time in for free, basically volunteer to benefit the patients? And when they're young, many physicians choose to stay late. And as their marriages deteriorate, and as they miss major events in their children's lives, they start pivoting a little bit towards the other side of it. And we call this pajama time. And people who are married to physicians, people who are married to nurses and others, they know this phenomena well, and they know the sacrifices that people in healthcare have to make. There is no reason for the healthcare system to operate this way. There really isn't. We've just structured it wrong, and we pay for the wrong things. We compensate the wrong things. And a cartel has formed to basically push medicine in a direction where it's treatments, not cures. So I really wanted to solve two things at the same time with Hoskinson Health. I wanted to build an organization that was really committed to public health and merged in the primary care sense functional medicine and lifestyle medicine with traditional allopathic medicine, the science-based medicine, with the naturopathic side of the world and the lifestyle side of the world, which also has its own scientific roots, but it's a bit different. And it's growing and evolving in its own way. And traditionally, it's ignored by the conventional medical industry, despite the fact that in many cases, it can outperform the conventional medical industry, especially in the treatment of chronic ailments or the prevention thereof, which is what is currently overwhelming the entire healthcare system. For example, if you are pre-diabetic, there are certainly some drugs you can go on and some medical interventions that an MD can give you, but you're probably better suited just getting your mental health, getting proper sleep, eating right, and working out. And after you lose weight, you get better insulin regulation through that process. You probably won't develop diabetes for many, many people. So would you rather just get it and become insulin dependent or dependent on drugs for the rest of your life and be kind of managing a decline? Or would you rather prevent it, increase your health span, and live a lot better? Well, these two sides of medicine are not together right now. So one of the reasons I constructed the clinic was that I wanted to build a clinic where we could bring both of those houses of medicine together and get them to talk to each other. The rigor of the allopathic world can make the functional medicine and naturopathic world better. And the creativity, inspiration, and patient-centeredness of the lifestyle world can make the allopathic world better. It makes it more caring. It makes people start focusing on the right thing, which is the outcome and the overall health of the patient, as well as the fact that your job as a practitioner is to make the patient better and cure what ails them, not just manage them and push them through a flow chart, hoping that they go away and you get your RVUs, your billable event. So that was the hypothesis of why we started Hoskinson Health. And we started it 3 years ago. As I mentioned, my family's been in medicine for 70 years. My grandfather was an OBGYN. Dad is a physician. My uncle is a physician as well, infectious disease doctor. And my brother is a physician. And there are many nurses actually in my extended family as well. And my brother started as a nurse before actually he became a physician, an internist. So we have that long legacy, and I brought family members together and we brought outside people together and we co-founded Hoskinson Health. But at the same time, we also constructed a biotechnology company because I was very interested in creating therapeutics that allow people to heal themselves, regenerative medicine. And almost all of these are also anti-aging in a certain sense. They make you live longer. So they increase both your lifespan, but they also increase your health span. So the very first thing that we started investigating is the use of mesenchymal stem cells, adipose-derived mesenchymal stem cells. So there's two broad categories of stem cells, and these are kind of the magic cells in your body that fix everything and make everything. They start undifferentiated, and they can turn into other types of tissue. Brain cells and heart cells and kidney cells and skin cells, all that you are came from them. So the primordial ones that you have when you're an embryo are pluripotent stem cells. And those are the youngest and least differentiated and have the highest potential. And the mesenchymal ones are the ones that you have in your body as adults. So they're in your fat. Those are adipose-derived. They're in your blood, hematopoietic, and your bone marrow. And there's many different ways to extract them and use them. So one of the things I was always curious about is, can we take stem cells from your fat and can we culture them in just the right way, expand them, and then conduct a series of clinical trials in partnership with the FDA to showcase that there are regenerative and anti-aging effects of these, especially when paired with other therapies that are promoting the activation of those cells and get them where they need to go. So what we're currently doing is pairing hyperbarics, which has been shown to release stem cells and program your body epigenetically to a state to use them, with mesenchymal stem cells. And you can do stem cells from one person, so you take them out of you and re-inject, that's autologous. And you also can take stem cells and culture expand them from a donor and then re-inject them. Those are allogeneic stem cells. So you actually have two different paths that you can pursue. So currently we're working with the FDA, and next year we're going to start a phase 1/2 clinical trial where we're going to actually take a look at a combined trial of hyperbarics and allogeneic stem cells and see what it happens in the body. So part of the clinic was building up a set of capabilities to do that type of clinical research. So we have state-of-the-art imaging, 3 Tesla MRI with AI upscaling. We have a state-of-the-art CAT scan. We have state-of-the-art lab. We have tons of practitioners. There's more than 24 physicians and a lot of mid-levels that work with us at the facility. So we have the medical science and some are MD PhDs, so they can do clinical translation of the basic science. And we have a dedicated science division led by our chief scientist there, Sanjay Dar. who came from University of California, and he moved to Gillette to set all these things up. And so the clinic is growing by leaps and bounds. It's currently at 10,000 square feet, and we're building 80,000 square feet next year. It's an enormous construction project to do this in Gillette, Wyoming. And I got to a point where I got so tired of dealing with external construction companies, I also founded my own construction company, Hoskinson Construction. And that company is actually building the clinic. So we're completely vertically integrated. And we want to get it out quickly. So we've actually been working 24 hours a day in that facility. So 9 to 9 and 9 to 9. And all the dirt work, the steel work, all pouring thousands and thousands of cubic yards of concrete. It's an enormous project and an enormous undertaking. And unfortunately, Gillette is a difficult area to build because during the winter, temperatures can fall to -40 and wind can go up to 100 miles an hour, and there's dense snow. And so you want to get your outer shell built as quickly as possible so that you can work inside and you don't have to deal with the brutal cold and the difficulty of the harsh weather. So that's underway, and we already have about 10,000 patients in our population, which is actually 1 out of every 3 people in Gillette, give or take, depending on how you count Campbell County, 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4, because there's only about 34,000 people in Gillette, Wyoming. And those patient encounters are growing, and the depth of things we can provide to those patients, because we have specialists coming on board like rheumatologists and ophthalmologists and cardiologists just started, Dr. Davovich, neurology is coming, amongst others. And the goal is basically this holistic view of a patient's health, and trying to figure out a way we can combine these two sides together. We're a little biased towards the allopathic side because that's the family legacy and history, but we have a lifestyle group that's led by very good people, and functional medicine physicians are coming on board. We already have one, Dr. Gerard, and there are others that are coming, and we're starting to integrate ourselves into the lifestyle side of the world. And in addition to just that foundation with mesenchymal stem cells and hyperbarics, we're also taking a look at other modalities, photobiomodulation. So this is the use of red light, which has a tremendous effect on cellular health, especially ATP production with mitochondria. We're also looking at PEMF. We're looking at vibroacoustic medicine. In fact, we may begin a study next year to use directed vibroacoustic techniques to promote release of DMT in the pineal gland. There's endogenous DMT, excuse me. There's a litany of things to think about, but it's pretty exciting when you see these capabilities, these systems. And we've also gotten into transcranial magnetic stimulation, working with MagStim, which is a major provider of this technology, and we've been using it successfully to treat depression in many different patients. About 85% of the people that we run through the program have shown some sign of improvement, and some have actually gotten off of drugs, SSRIs, that they've been on for years. And it's really magical, TMS, because you can do over 30 to 40 sessions, something that has lasting changes, and it removes drug dependency from the patient. So that's a cure instead of a treatment. Or if it is a treatment, it's a highly effective treatment that doesn't require persistent dosing, but occasional refreshes for many people. But we're also going to look at some of the other alternative things that have been done in traditional medicine. For example, we're very keen to explore darkness retreats. We're also very keen to set up a ketamine clinic as well. We have 2 psychiatrists that work with us, and we're exploring how we can combine a program together. As you know, I recently went to one myself, and I like to believe it had a pretty good impact. And I think that can be shared with many other people. On the vibroacoustic side as well, there seems to be a lot of things that can be done for the treatment of prediabetes and diabetes, and improving insulin sensitivity, and also some things that could potentially be done in the treatment of cancer. So as the clinic continues to grow, its primary concern is the public health of Campbell County, as well as ensuring we have holistic care for everybody in Campbell County. Now, we've had some challenges with this. In particular, there's been at times conflict with some of the external providers. And the biggest example is the hospital itself, at Campbell County Hospital. They seem to have a perception that the existence of our clinic's sole purpose is to put them out of business. And some of the people that they recently terminated even comically came to us and told us that their marketing department has dossiers on me, my brother, my dad, and my mother, of all people, which is pretty comical. And they even have one of those boards up on the walls, and they put the strings showing pictures of us and other people. And they've sent fake patients into our clinic to get interviewed, to see what we're doing and what we say. There's a culture of fear and paranoia there. Because, I mean, how often do people go and invest over $100 million more to come into building a clinic that doesn't really seek to make money? Instead, its sole purpose is to improve the public health and to learn more about how to combine the lifestyle medicine with allopathic medicine. There's this expectation if one only lives in a world of profit and losses, there must be an ulterior motive or some zero thinking. The reality is that the anti aging regenerative medicine world is a multi trillion dollar marketplace. And the therapeutics that are developed at Hoskinson Health, the intention is to sell them because we're going through FDA approval across the entire United States and later the entire world. And because this is a multi trillion dollar market, that means we will use mesenchymal stem cells long term in products that could restore lost smell from COVID. Anosmia is a common thing, enhance mental performance, cure TBIs, orthopedic outcomes, and dozens of other downstream product lines. The hope is to manufacture the stem cells in Gillette, Wyoming. The hope is to manufacture the products in Gillette, Wyoming, creating hundreds of jobs, but to sell those products across the entire United States, generating billions of dollars in revenue. So I'm not entirely sure why there's a perception there in that organization, why we are there to put them out of business. But that's the challenge in healthcare in general. They don't like change. And there is a perception that change is bad or that change has to be viewed with skepticism or the goal of people is to harm people. I can't tell you how remarkably rewarding it has been watching this clinic grow and just watching how it's massively improved the lives of so many people. Let's be clear here. Before we created our clinic, people would have to wait 6 to 12 months to get health appointments for things that really ought to be urgently seen, whether it be heart conditions or neurological issues or autoimmune disorders. And these are people. They are just like you and me. They just happen to live in Gillette, Wyoming. And when there was a massive need for public health, which is why we were able in a 3-year period to get a 10,000 patient panel, and somebody steps in to fill that, I'd like to believe that's a net good. If the system resists that or fights that, or there's a culture of fear and paranoia behind it, it's telling you that healthcare as a whole is sick. And I don't think Gillette is, or the other providers, are a problem. I think they just live in a mindset that creates a lot of problems for people. And also they live in a mindset that everything is sum zero. And that's sad. But whether they believe this or not, we're not really going away. We're just going to keep doing what we do, and we're going to keep building what we build. And the reality is we're building it for the world, for everybody. There are so many millions of Americans who are suffering right now. Over 60% of the American population has some chronic ailment or mental health concern. 6 out of 10 people. It's the highest it's ever been in American history. And a lot of that has to do with what's in our food. A lot of that has to do with how we live, the fact that we're dopamine addicted to our phones and social media. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we've kind of lost a lot of meaning and hope. Now, those factors set aside, our healthcare system is letting these people down, despite the fact that America spends $4.5 trillion on healthcare, the most expensive of any nation in the entire world. We still have large pockets of the United States that can't even get access to basic healthcare or quality healthcare. And in many cases, they're given the worst possible outcome, and we pay for the wrong things. So this is the challenge of our time. And now with our new HHS secretary coming in, Robert Kennedy, I do believe that for the first time in a long time, there's going to be a great focus on returning to a healthy state in America. We can't solve all the problems, but I'd like to believe we're at least trying to do our part. One of the reasons why allopathic medicine has a difficulty integrating with the functional medicine and naturopathic side is that while there are amazing ideas that exist on that side of the aisle, there's also a lot of pseudoscience and charlatanism and bold claims that don't have evidence or claims by anecdote. And one of the things I like to believe we bring to the table, we brought this with the cryptocurrency industry, having the largest research group in the world for cryptocurrencies, 168 scientists we write with, and 230 papers and labs from Stanford to Tokyo. We bring rigor. So all the things we do it in partnership with the research organizations that are the highest quality and university partners and good old-fashioned science. But unlike good old-fashioned science, which has closed itself off and it no longer has an open mind because of the way it's financed, we have the luxury to do unorthodox things, or the luxury to research things that at the end of the rainbow do not result in a profit. Not a lot of people look at naturopathic things because there's no patents to it, Kuru. There's no drug protections. There's no product that allows you to mark it up 500x or 1000x. And so, even though there may be an enormous amount of circumstantial or anecdotal evidence or strong belief that it's effective, nobody takes the time to do the science the way it needs to be done, because at the end result, there's no profit. We have the freedom to pursue these types of things by the nature and structure of the organization. And we don't have unlimited resources, so we're going to start small, but we'll continue to grow. And the fact that we can share that with our over 10,000 patients and continue to grow is something that's the honor of a lifetime, because then we can work with affiliates and satellite clinics and people all across the United States in many different categories, from the lifestyle and biohacking side of the world to traditional clinics that are quite large and quite prominent. And the good news is, as we broaden the scope and the spiral continues to scale out, we can go from trials of dozens to hundreds to thousands, and we can begin helping an increasingly larger pool of people and generate that evidence. There will continue to be challenges in the way. And despite the fact that someone like Kennedy is taking over HHS, I have no illusions that the bureaucracy of medicine will continue to be a barrier. But we're learning as we go. And at the end of the day, we never forget why we do what we do. It's the family legacy and tradition. You cure people, you help people. It means a lot being a physician, and it means a lot being in a health practitioner role. People trust you. They come in and they're not in the best shape and they're feeling bad, and all they want is some help and compassion. And they want somebody to tell them it's going to be okay and we're going to figure this out together. It didn't matter if it was thousands of years ago with Galen or Hippocrates or all the physicians of antiquity, all the way to today. It's one of the noblest and hardest professions in humanity, because often you can't help them completely. And in many cases, you can't help them at all. But the fact that there's somebody who's devoted their life to trying and has the compassion and dignity to at least put every effort into trying to get that person back where they need to be is all that really matters in the end. And every day we'll grow a little better, we'll get a little better, and every day we'll continue to invest in the research. So the clinic will be at its next evolution in probably July to August, if our construction schedule keeps on pace. We've, as I've mentioned, hired a great deal of providers, and our science division is growing at a pretty breakneck speed. One of the cool parts is, because we have such a large ecosystem with Cardano, 1.4 million delegated wallets, many of you listening are physicians yourselves or scientists yourselves or involved in some part of the healthcare apparatus. Statistically speaking, probably 400,000 of you have some relationship to the healthcare industry if you take a look at the employment statistics in the United States. So if you're listening to this, it would be nice for you to at least wish us well. And if there is some point of collaboration that interests you in any of the portfolio that we have, we're going to become increasingly more public and transparent about that portfolio and some of the things that we're looking for. And at some point, our studies will open up to the general public above and beyond the local areas that we do, especially because we need diversity in these studies in order for them to be statistically significant and useful and get through the regulatory process. As with all things, medicine, no matter how much I want it to move at a fast speed, like Elon does with his rockets, you still have to deal with the fact that it is a highly regulated and very slow-moving industry. And we have the luxury to move a little bit faster in Gillette, Wyoming, given that we're very motivated and we have an amazing group of people, and every person that works for us is truly special. It will take a little bit more time. So I do ask for your patience in that respect, but your awareness overall of what we do. And what's really exciting is I believe we are on the cusp of a renaissance in healthcare, from network medicine to all these things that have been learned in the biohacking world, to the fact that gerotherapeutics is starting to be recognized as a legitimate field of healthcare. That's the anti-aging part of it. And all the amazing lessons that we've learned from stem cell science, whether it be mesenchymal or pluripotent, and the derivatives thereof, like exosomes. It's really impressive to see how fast that's progressing. And coupled with AI, We're also going to have a provider renaissance because we can automate much of the bureaucracy of medicine, and that pajama time that doctors and other providers have to spend potentially can be given back to them, meaning they'd be far more effective. And this could be everything from real-time continuous chart review to also being able to augment a physician's knowledge into domains they're not a subject matter expert in, especially genomic medicine for precision medicine dosing of drugs and therapeutic interventions. Your genes can tell a huge story. Medical school doesn't truly train doctors to know that story, and very few know how to interface with that world. And it would be a tragedy for us to wait 20 to 30 years for academic curricula to catch up. AI can bring that to the forefront almost instantly. We're going to continue investing. We're going to continue building. After we finish this next phase, we're going to take a little bit of a break on construction because we're a little tired of building. But then we'll eventually build a larger group. In particular, we do have plans to open up a surgical arm, and we'd like to use a combination of robotics and all the innovations that are there with a combination of stem cells, because we'd like to really dig into post-surgical recovery. And so there's 140,000 surgeries done every day, about 40 million a year in the United States alone. Worldwide, it's probably several hundred million per year. It would be nice to find ways to speed up the recovery time for patients. And there's many other derivative products that can push there that are interlocking. And there's plenty of ways we can improve the surgical process altogether. The second thing is cancer. We're incredibly interested in oncology. Members of my family, extended and otherwise, and dear friends have been lost because of cancer, and many people listening have had it or know someone who has had it, and about 1 out of every 3 people will get it, and 1 out of every 4 people will die from it. That's just the statistical reality that we live in. We need better ways of thinking holistically about not only how to treat cancer, but also how to fix the consequences of treating cancer. That's one of the things that's often missed. Doctors are trained to say, get rid of the cancer. And once they've done that, it's mission accomplished, cut the cake, and move on. But a lot of people listening know people who suffer from peripheral neuropathies as a result of chemotherapy or chemo brain. A lot of people listening have had surgeries that have removed things you kind of need, but they had cancer in them. And now you're living with the consequences of those things being removed. And it's not okay for medicine to say the job is done when the cancer is gone. The goal ought to be to return you to where you were at before the cancer came, and perhaps even better. The cool part about regenerative medicine and anti-aging is the exact same interventions and therapeutics couldn't potentially be used for that part of medicine. And by taking a look at the functional side, which over 90% of people who are diagnosed with cancer tend to do things like take supplements or do naturopathic things, in addition to getting traditional cancer treatment, and combining these things together means that you can actually do it in a way where they don't interfere with each other, which is a big concern in modern oncology. Those supplements sometimes are not the best things to mix with the chemotherapy or other such things. So we're real excited to explore that side of the world. It's going to take a little bit of time to go in because we want to do it in a considered, deliberate, and systematic way. But it is something that is on the agenda before the end of the decade for us to pursue. And of course, it'll take more construction and more hiring and these types of things. And we have to get where we're at. So the great pause will happen in 2025. Once we finish this next major phase, we'll get our sea legs and get quite comfortable. And then we'll build a network of networks and be able to leverage the fact that we have doctors and scientists all across the world that we enjoy working with and we know. And this community itself is so extraordinary. It has been and continues to be the privilege of my lifetime being able to dip my toes into the river of medicine. I never thought I'd actually do that because I chose not to become a physician. And I'm kind of sad that now that I didn't become one, because had this clinic existed, that's what I would work. And this is what I would do. When I was at SpaceX, what was striking was how young and excited everybody was. You'd have people managing payloads worth billions of dollars and literally running the space program of nation states who are 25 years old and 30 years old, willing to put in nearly unlimited time because they're all motivated and passionate about the fact that they're doing something that's so significant and changing the lives of so many people. And I'd like to believe that that's what we strive for at Hoskinson Health. We hire very passionate people, old and young alike, who get re-inspired. And it's so much fun watching someone who starts as cynical and defensive and believing that things can't be done. And over a 6 month to a year period, them wake up and remember the passions of why they entered healthcare in the first place. That is so cool to see that happen. And we're trying to capture that spirit. The coming years are, of course, challenging because we're dealing with the realities of the bureaucracy of medicine. And as I mentioned, some cases, local entities are challenging, but that's the skepticism that you face. And as you grow as a business, you continue to face that skepticism. But you never lose sight on where we're going and why we're going there. I started this company with my dad and brother because I wanted to leave a legacy where we taught people that we can cure things and remind the medical industry, your duty is to heal people and make things better, not to make money. If you do a good job at it, capitalism should reward you and you will make money. But the primary goal isn't that. The goal is to heal people. It's the most noble and one of the oldest professions, whether it be the shaman in the tribe figuring out which herbs make the headache go away, or the salves that they put on the wound that somebody got from hunting, all the way today with the neurosurgeon who has devoted decades of his or her life to have the right to open your skull up and remove that tumor or that blood clot. They're all connected in one long thread that has gone throughout the decades, the centuries, and the millennia with the goal of being entrusted with someone else's life. We should never, we can never, we will never forget that. So thank you all for listening. And as I said, we'll get a little bit more public about various things we're doing and trials that we're running. But Hoskinson Health is open for business. We have a great website. We're very happy to be in Gillette. We'll continue to grow. Eventually, there'll be thousands of jobs that we create in Campbell County, especially as the biotechnology company grows and we sell products to the entire world. And we'll probably end up being the largest employer in that town. But, you know, we're here to stay. And this is something throughout my life I'm going to continue investing in, continue in building, because I believe in it. And I think there's nothing in my portfolio, including cryptocurrencies, more meaningful to me than this. Because at the end of the day, this is the part of my life where I get to save lives and the part of my life where I get to make people's lives better. Not to say that cryptocurrencies aren't important. In fact, we tend to think in a very holistic way. And I've already gotten a lot of ideas about how I can use Midnight and Cardano to integrate into the health record system and the patient authentication systems. And that's the point of blockchain, is to make everything else better. It's kind of the meta that you never forget and you keep in the back of your mind as you build things. But as your passions flow, this is one that does take quite a bit of time and I invest in and I truly and deeply enjoy. And it's one that I don't talk about very much because it's something local in Gillette. But now that we're going global, I am going to talk about it just a little bit more, especially because there are so many people that think the way I do and think the way our organization does, who could be great partners to help us get to the next level. And I believe by bringing people together, especially like-minded people that share the same values and compassion, over time you can change the world. So to everyone in healthcare listening, thank you for your service here. And thank you for everything you've done to take care of other people. And for those who are getting burnt out and who are quite tired with the way things are, the cavalry's coming. Help is on the way. It's going to take a little bit of time. But you know what? We're going to make America healthy again. And each and every one of us is doing our part. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful day.